Good morning, hope you're all well and I hope it's lovely and sunny where you are. Sun's coming out here a little bit now. I've got a glutes focus today, so all sorts of different glutes exercises. There's three main sets of glutes muscles and they are round about here, the side of the hips, the backs of the hips, and they work to extend the legs, but also stabilise the pelvis, keep things level when you're walking, stop the legs from rotating inwards. So they're really important muscles to work if you are a walker or a runner, but to be honest, all of us could often do with a bit of work in our glutes. So we're going to do some stuff in standing, and I think standing work is really important when we're working our glutes, because actually that's when we need our muscles to be strong, not when we're lying down on the floor, but when we're up and we're moving around. But the focus when we're doing stuff in standing tends to be slightly different, where you may well find it's the stance leg is the one that you feel working more so than the leg that you're moving. But if you don't feel that, it doesn't matter, you're still working, you're still moving, you're still working your body. So we're going to start in standing. I hope we're not going to lose my head here, I might do just a little bit. Okay, so into your stance position. Feet are parallel and hip width, knees are slightly soft. We've got our hips so they're kind of directly above the ankles. Don't let yourself be in a sort of sway back position, which quite often we sort of adopt because it's a bit easier to stand there than it is in our upright position. But just have a little think. Sometimes it's worth just shifting your weight forwards and backwards a couple of times and then just stopping at the point where you feel you're in that mid or balanced position. Same thing with side to side. Try and make sure that your hips and your pelvis is directly in the middle, so your weight's going right down between your feet. Just a little think through our posture before we start, which is obviously part of this Pilates posture. Imagine you've got a helium balloon attached to the top of your head. Draw that up. You might just lose the top of my head out of the screen. Widen through the shoulders. Rib cage is gently pressed down. We're going to take a big breath in. And then breathe out, draw into the abdominal muscles. So think about those muscles either drawing your hip bones together or lifting through your pelvic floor. It's quite a subtle connection, so don't try and clench too much. Get that connection there, and then we'll just take a couple more breaths. So really focus on the side of the rib cage. So as you breathe in, your ribs are going to move out, and then as you breathe out, they're going to come back in towards one another. So breathing in, and then breathing out. We're actually going to start, although I've talked about glutes and basically we're doing glutes, just a little bit of it lengthening through the sides of the waist. So I'm going to bring the feet a wee bit wider. And we're going to breathe out to bend into a side bend. Breathe in to come back up to the start position. And then breathe out to switch to the other side. It's really important to have a freedom of movement through these muscles down the side. And if they get a bit tight, it can really affect how we function round about the hips. So I often would, even if our focus is round about the hips, try and bring a little bit of lengthening through the muscles through the sides. If you feel comfortable enough, you can bring your arm in now to bring a bit more of the stretch. So I would breathe in to stretch over and then breathe out. Really think about lengthening through your body as you come back up again. So breathing in to stretch, you breathe out to return, and we're going to do 2 more to each side, and then last one. Right, what I'm going to do is start with a squat movement, and I'm actually going to turn side on so you can see my alignment just a little bit better. So we're going to start with pushing the hips back. I've got my arms just there for counterbalance, and we're returning. Your hands can stay in your hips if you want. So we want to imagine you've got a little chair behind your stool and you're trying to aim for that. So you should see that your knees don't tend to move a great deal, just a little bit of forward movement. Watch that you're not just pushing the knees forward because you'll get locked there. Your ankles will stop you from going any further. So if we push those hips back, it has a little bit more bias through the glutes. Now as you return, really push into the heels. So drive your heels into the floor as you lengthen up, and that's going to bring in a little bit of activity through these glute max muscles. So lengthening up. Just going to do 2 more. One last thing with this, I'm saying we'll do 2 more, we might do a few more. just keep a little eye on where the position of your knees are. Don't let them knock in towards one another. And actually, if our glutes aren't firing up terribly well, often that is what happens. So a little bit of squeeze through the outer part of the hip, keep those knees facing forwards. And we're going to, on this one, hold the squat position, and we're going to do scooter. So you're taking weight onto one leg. I'm going to go for my right, breathing in to prepare, and then the left leg's going to extend along the floor behind you, and then come back in again. So your body's staying still, you're in a slight inclined position, and you're extending your leg back. So you've got your glute max working on the side that you're extending through, but on the other side, the side you can't see here, your other muscles are keeping you nice and stable. Try and keep your knee, the knee that's still, which is my right one, try and keep it still, don't let it wobble around. And we can make this just a little bit trickier by extending your leg off the floor this time. So tapping your toe back and bringing it back in again. And if you feel that you've got the control, you can keep the leg lifted throughout. And actually, I quite like to add in a little bit, almost like a running or a walking drill with this, and bringing in a little bit of a lift. Bring in some arms. Try and keep your balance. Okay, last two. Last one. And then return. We're going to switch sides. So I've got this little squat now through my left side. Right knees flex, we're breathing out to extend, breathing in to return. Again, just keep a focus on your knee that's staying nice and still. So make sure that it is staying nice and still, don't let it wobble around. And then we've got the toe tapping back. So really lengthen that leg that's extending behind you. Keep your spine nice and long. Imagine you've got a string coming up the top of your head, really drawing you long. And then we can keep the leg lifted now, extending, so it's not touching the floor at all. And then the last little bit, if you want to, is bringing in the knee lift. The arms actually help a little bit with the balance here. Okay, last two. Last one. And relax. We're going to come down into a kneeling position. So a little bit more work. We're now got a slightly different focus on the glutes. We're in a flex position through the hip, whereas before we were in an upright. So it's a little bit less functional, but it's still really worthwhile doing because you're also getting some weight going through the arms, some stability work around about shoulder girdle. So we're going to start, got a head cushion here, I'm just going to lose. Start by extending your leg along the floor, bringing in a little bit of a lift, bring it back in again, switch to the other side. So with this, you want to watch that your hips are staying nice and steady. Don't let them sway from side to side. So you may find that the wider your knees are, the more difficult it is to keep them steady. Maintain neutral. So although this is an exercise for glutes, this is an abdominal exercise as well. You need to be drawing into your centre to stop your back from going. So extending and returning. You can bring in an arm if you wish. It's obviously going to destabilise you now. Keep really pressing your hands into the mat because that's going to help keep the stability around about your shoulder girdle. Keep your breastbone lifted away from the floor. If you have one of these soft balls at home, you can give yourself a little extra challenge by popping your knee on that ball, so you're now on a really unstable surface. So you're very welcome to give that a try if you wish. I'll just do a couple on the other side. Okay, I'm going to finish on that one. And I'm going to come down onto elbows. So the work on the elbows, and I often find it's a little bit easier to keep neutral in this forward lean position just because your hips are a little bit more flexed. So if you struggle with the sort of the straight leg, controlling neutral. You may well find this is a little bit easier. So you're pressing your forearms into the floor, pressing your elbows into the floor, neck is still staying long, and you're looking down toward your hands. You're going to engage through the centre as you breathe in, and then breathe out and lift that leg up behind you, and then breathe in to lower it down. Breathing out to lift, breathing in to lower. You can destabilise yourself a little bit more by lifting up that supporting foot, lifting and lowering. Now what we're going to do is we're going to keep the leg lifted. I'm going to do some little pulses. So squeezing, squeezing. Now really draw into your centre here. Don't let your back go. The only bit that should be moving is your hip. And we're going to add in some circles. Again, you can lift that toe off the floor if you want to make things a little bit harder. Let's change direction with the circles. So you've got to work through your waist, make sure that you're not bending sort of through the side of your waist. And we're doing last one. And then back to the start position. Switching sides. So your legs extending back. You've got your centre engaged, really drawn to those abdominals. We're lifting and lowering. Breathing out to lift, breathing in to lower. Remember, just keep thinking about the posture through the upper part of the body. Don't sink. Keep pressing those elbows into the mat. We can lift the toes up if you wish. Hold it there, do some little pulses. Okay, what we're going to do is do the circles again with this leg. So once again, just check that the waist is staying nice and long on both sides. Also just working a quick check that your hip and your supporting side is still above your knee and that you've not moved across. Let's change direction. I'm going to do last 3, 2, 1, and relax there. Have a little sit back on your heels. Okay, so we're going on to our side, which is a little bit more like the sort of traditional mat work, Pilates, where some of these exercises are sort of modified versions of them, which we all tend to modify all the exercises anyway. So you're on your side, you're going to do clam first of all. So your underneath arm is extended away from you, or if your neck's not comfortable, have your arm out in front. And you want to think about your spine being really long and parallel to the floor. A little stretch through the waist. So the underneath rib cage, you feel like it's going to lift away from the floor ever so slightly. And we've got the heels lifted. And we're going to breathe out to lift your top knee and breathe in to lower it down. Lifting and lowering. Try and keep those heels lifted and make sure that you're not rolling back. That's the key to this, is try and make sure that you keep this position, this alignment through the pelvis. What we're going to do is keep the knee lifted now and do some little squeezes. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And we're going to do another set of those. Lift the knee, tiny little pulses. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax. We're straightening the legs, just about got my head and my feet in. We're going to take a breath in and then breathe out. We're lifting the top leg up to hip height, the bottom one's coming up to join it, and then you're bringing them both down together. So that's a breath out to lift top leg, bottom leg, and down. We want to really keep this part of the body as still and as relaxed as possible. So you're not sort of pushing down through the arms, you're not overworking through the sides of the waist. So breathing out to lift, breath in to lower. So just watch you don't lift too high, because you should be able to meet your top leg with the underneath leg. If you lift that leg all the way up, you're not going to be able to get there without really affecting your alignment. Right, we're going to keep those legs lifted, and we're going to just now move the top leg up and down. So we're going to point the foot as we lift up, flex the ankle to lower down. And we only want to be lifting as far as we can, maintaining the alignment through our waist here. If you lift too high, and often we do that by turning the leg out, you'll end up squashing up through this side of the waist, which we don't want. So breathing out to lift, breathing in to lower. Keep nice and long. All right. What we're going to do now is bring the top leg forwards and backwards for side kick. So this one is a lot trickier from a balance point of view. You want to keep this trunk really still, so you've got rib to think, rib to hip connection. Keep that engaged. Don't let anything move through your trunk. So you're breathing out to bring the leg forward. Breathe in to return and lead with that heel. That'll bring in a bit more work through your glute max there. If you're finding this really wobbly, you could let that underneath leg come down onto the floor or even bend a little bit. Okay, so you're starting to feel that you're working through that top part of the leg. Okay, last one, and then finish there. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a quick switch over to the other side. So again, just running through the alignment, knees are bent, heels are in line with sit bones, we're doing clown. We've got a stretch, the uppermost hip is lengthening towards your feet. The underneath rib cage is just gently drawing away from the floor. Watch that your shoulders aren't hunched, heels are lifted, we're breathing out to lift, we're breathing in to lower. So this is predominantly your gluteus medius that you're working with this exercise, which works to control the level of the pelvis when you're walking, and in particular works to control the rotation of the leg as you walk. So the leg should rotate, but it helps to control the speed of that and make sure it's not doing it too fast. So actually it's the lowering that's probably the more important part of this than the lifting. So make sure you're not rolling backwards. Make sure that your heels aren't dropping down towards the floor. And then we're going to keep the knee lifted, and we've got those 2 sets of pulses, 2 sets of 10. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then one more set of those. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And relax. So I'm not sure I can quite get my head and my feet in, not quite. But you've got a general idea, my feet are there, they're not doing a huge amount. Let me shuffle a bit more. Right, so we've got side leg lifts. So we're lifting the top leg up to hip height, the bottom leg up to join it, and then we're bringing them both down together. Try and just watch with the hand that you really just want fingertips. Literally just fingertips resting there and no more than that. Don't be really pressing down, because if your hand's there, you'll use it and then all of this starts to work too much. So breathing out to lift, breathe in to lower. Remember this sort of relaxation through the top part of the body. Right, we're going to keep the legs lifted now, and we've got the top leg lifting up and down. Or you can just about see my feet. So breathing out as you lift, try to keep the foot pointed, and then flex it as you lower back down again. Still, if you can, think about the gap under the rib cage. Just when we lie on our side, because our hips generally a bit wider than the rib cage, the spine kind of sags a little bit. So keeping that alignment just brings the spine so it's in a nice straight line. Okay, we've got 2 more. And then we're going to bring the leg forward and backwards. So breathing out and then breathing in to return. So this was the one where you're going to, I can see my fingers are working a lot harder with this one. It's a lot more tricky to keep your stability here. So let the underneath leg come down if you need to. And just, yeah, keep that focus of what's going on around about your shoulder. You don't want it to do too much. Okay. Last two. Last one. And down. Right, so I'm going to just finish off with a little bit of work on shoulder bridge, which is another sort of classic glutes exercise. So it's working your glutes. It's also opening up the front of the hip joint, which I think is just a really important thing, particularly if we spend a lot of time sitting. So getting that extension, that real active extension of the glutes working. So just one last exercise and a little stretch. So you're on your back. Your feet are underneath your knees. So just make sure you're not too far away, because then you find your hamstrings do more work than your glutes. So feet underneath the knees. If you do have problems round about your hips, I usually suggest having your feet a wee bit wider. It just reduces the load through the tendons as they attach into the top of the hip. So it's usually a bit more comfortable for you. And also just a wee bit wider often makes it a bit easier to engage through the glutes, particularly if your back's a bit stiff. But just work with what feels comfortable for you. So we're taking a breath in to prepare, and we're breathing out to flatten your lower back into the floor and then peel your spine as you roll up into your glute bridge position. Take a breath in at the top, and then as you breathe out, you're going to start by sinking from between your shoulder blades, breastbone sinking into the floor. Keep that little tuck through the pelvis, because what we want is your lower back to come down onto the floor before your bum. So we're breathing out to roll up, breath in to hold, breathe out to roll back down again. And again, breathing out to roll up, breath in to hold, breathe out to roll back down. Okay, we're going to add in just a couple of little modifications to bring my feet a bit nearer again. What we can do is we can start to target the glutes a bit more by bringing a leg into the air, either just by lifting the heel or the leg all the way up. And that's going to increase the load through one side, through the glutes, and also increase your instability. So you've got to work a bit harder to keep yourself balanced. So what we're going to do is we're going to start just by lifting the heel of one foot. I don't know if you can see that very well. So breathing out to lift the heel, breathe in to lower. Keep the hips lifted, keep your glutes engaged. And we're going to switch to the other side. So you want to press the supporting heel really strongly into the floor, because that's going to help keep those glutes switched on. Okay, we're going to roll back down again. So we're going to do another set, but this time we're going to make it a little bit trickier. So we're going to bring the whole leg up into the air. If you feel it's too much, you just keep it to the previous level. So we're rolling up. So I'm going to lift my right leg, so it's the left heel that presses really firmly into the floor. So breathing out to lift, breathing in to lower, breathing out to lift, breathing in to lower. Keep those hips engaged, keep those hips lifted. Don't let them drop as your leg drops down. Right, and switch to the other side. Breathing out to lift, breathing in to lower. So still focusing on the heel pressing into the floor. Working all through the back of the leg. And then last one. And then roll all the way back down again. Just going to finish off just with a little stretch through the glutes. So I'm going to I've put my left foot over the right thigh. And I'm going to bring the arms out to the side a little bit, and we're going to start just by moving the knees from side to side. Keep your shoulder blades fixed down, because what you don't want is to let everything move, because then you just lose a bit of the stretch. So keep those shoulder blades fixed down. And then what we're going to do is stop when you get to the mid position, and then pull your leg towards you. That's going to give you a little stretch through the glutes. Just hold it there for a couple of breaths. And then we're going to change sides. So same thing again, we've now got right foot over left thigh, arms out to the side, moving your knees. Again, think about the shoulder blades. It's that connection through the shoulder blades that will help help the stretch. So you're then not going to move too much, so you get the stretch localised round about the waist. And then we're going to just pull your leg up towards you. Get that stretch in the sides here. So where you've worked all these muscles that you felt when you were doing stuff and standing and stuff and lying, that's where you're feeling it when you stretch. All right. Let that come down onto the floor. I hope you enjoyed that. A little bit of work through the glutes. I just think for any of us who are doing any sort of walking, running, even cycling, I think it's so important to work through these glutes, and particularly sort of the shoulder bridge, getting the opening through the front of the hips. If you do spend quite a bit of time sitting, is so important. So hopefully you enjoyed that and it's something you've been working on. And I look forward to seeing you again next week.